Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The top stories that we're tracking for you this evening. The Sensex and the Nifty decline again, but mid-cap see sharper cuts. The Lal Street is on course to post losses for the fifth straight month. This will be the longest losing streak in 29 years. From cement to cables, Birla Group's UltraTech to invest 1,800 crore rupees to set up a facility to manufacture cables and wires in Gujarat. The stock declines on capital allocation concerns. Shares of cable and wire makers also fall due to heightened competition. The tenure of SEBI Chief Madhavi Puri Butch ends on the 1st of March. Sources say top bureaucrats at North Block like Tuhin Kanta Pandey and Ajay Seth, along with Petroleum Secretary Pankaj Jain and SEBI member KC Varshney, are likely contenders for the top job. State-run UCO Bank defers foreign roadshows for its proposed 2,000 crore rupee fundraise. Sources say the roadshows scheduled earlier this week will now be held in March, raising doubts over concluding the stake sale this quarter. US President Donald Trump's $5 million golden visa offering a path to US citizenship is the most expensive in the world, but about 10,000 Indian millionaires migrated abroad last year, with the UAE being the top destination, offering citizenship for about $500,000.
Is anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, well, throw him out of here.
Is anybody unhappy with Elon Musk, asked Donald Trump as his first cabinet meeting of the second term. The meeting highlighted the efforts by Musk and his team to shrink the government. Musk is not officially a member of the cabinet and his appointment was not vetted or cleared by the US Congress, yet he was there. The Supreme Court pulls up customs and GST officials for misusing arrest powers, calls for errant officers to be punished, rules that customs officers do not enjoy the same powers as police officers. Those facing prosecution can seek anticipatory bail even if the case is not registered. Also on the show today, Uday Kotak's lament on fading animal spirits and the heirs of business houses walking away from the family business find support with Harsh Goenka and Sanjeev Sanyal, but not everyone is downbeat on the next gen. Well, let's start with the market action. The Sensex and the Nifty ending flat after a choppy session. Both indices are down nearly 4% this month and are on track to post losses for the fifth straight month. That's the Sensex closing just about in positive territory. It's flat closing for the Nifty. The mid-cap index down over 1% and the small-cap index losing about 1.5%. This is going to be the longest losing streak that we've seen in the last 29 years for our markets, so pressure continues. And staying with markets, SEBI Chief Madhavi Puri Butch's tenure ends on the 1st of March. She was the first person not from the Indian Administrative Service to lead the market regulator, also the first woman. Sources say the search panel to find a successor is likely to have considered some top bureaucrats and a SEBI insider. Timsy standing by with the details. Timsy.
Yes, what sources are indicating that the search panel may have considered the candidature of these four names. To be precise, top on the list is Finance Secretary Tuhin Kanta Pandey, followed by DEA Secretary Ajay Seth, also Petroleum Secretary Pankaj Jain, and whole-time member to SEBI KC Varshney, who's also an IRS officer. So let's see what happens finally, because the term of current SEBI chief ends on 1st of March and the orders are expected on the same day, is what sources indicate. We'll have to wait and watch for the orders because ACC is soon likely to issue the final verdict. Back to you.
Okay, Timsy, many thanks. The likely contenders, we'll have to wait for the official confirmation. Now, the Reserve Bank has reversed its decision to increase the risk weight on bank loans to NBFCs. The move is expected to free up significant capital for banks. AU Small Finance Bank, Ujjivan Small Finance Bank and Jana Small Finance Bank clocked strong gains following the announcement. The revised policy will kick in from the 1st of April. The big corporate story, Birla Group's UltraTech Cement has announced a foray into the wires and cables business. The cement major will invest 1,800 crore rupees to set up a facility to manufacture cables and wires in Gujarat. The stock down 5% on concerns about capital allocation and debt reduction. Meanwhile, shares of cable and wire makers also saw a sharp sell-off on account of the possibility of heightened competition. Nigel is here with more. Nigel, UltraTech Cement, KEI Industries, RR Kabil, all down in the red. Look at the move on RR Kabil, down almost 20%. What's going on here?
Well, that's right. UltraTech has announced its plans to move into the cables and wires business in the next 2 years. For this, they laid out a capex of close to around 1,800 crores. And this unit will be coming up in Bharuch in Gujarat. Most of the funding will be done via internal accruals or some borrowings as well. Remember, they generate cash flows of more than 10,000 crores, so it will be relatively very small for them. What makes UltraTech look at the cables and wires business? It has the industry tailwind, right? The industry has been growing by close to around 13 to around 14%. The industry size is 80,000 crores, headed to 1 lakh crores. So there's an industry tailwind. Also, they could be looking at some backward synergies, that is, they can source the aluminium as well as copper from Hindalco itself, which is a group company. And thirdly, UltraTech Building Solutions has close to around 4,400 outlets, and they've said they want to strengthen this vertical of their business as well. So those are the broad reasons. What about margins? Margins in the cables and wires business will be relatively lower because they'll be in that vicinity of around 8 to around 12%, which compares with UltraTech's cement margins of close to around 15%. However, on the return on capital employed front, well, it is relatively better because on the core cement business, the ROC is close to 15%. However, on the cables and wires business, you get ROC of close to around 25% or thereabouts. How do the numbers stack up? Well, they're going to be spending close to around 1,800 crores, which is close to around 10% of their annual capital expenditure. So not large in that sense. What is the asset turnover? Well, if they're putting 1,800 crores, in all probability at optimal levels, they could generate close to around 7 to 8,000 crores with margins in the vicinity of around 11% or thereabouts. What doesn't the street like them? Well, the street is questioning their capital allocation. Why should they look at investing in a non-cement business? So capital allocation body was one factor that dragged down the stock. The second factor is if the group wanted to do this, the street argues they could have done it through Grasim. Brokerage reports had come out, and Jefferies, though they maintain their positive stance on the stock, they say that in fact there is a knee-jerk reaction. They will consider it as a buying opportunity. Finally, the street didn't like this foray of UltraTech Cement into the cables and wires business, but who really felt the heat was the incumbent cable and wires players. That's why you had Havells, Polycab, KEI, all of them were under pressure because the fear is this the paints moment for the cables and wires business? After all, when Grasim moved into the paints business, well, we did see all those paints companies did see a lot of selling pressure, margins compressed, as well as valuations.
All right, Nigel, many thanks for joining us. In Stock-Specific Action, Trends Managing Director Venkateshwala spoke to Shilpa Ranipeta on what was a rare interview. He said Zudio is one of the company's strongest growth engines, adding that 20% of Zudio's sales are from emerging non-fashion categories like beauty and footwear. Take a look.
We are quite enthused by both our brands in the fashion space, and we are also enthused by Star in the food space, definitely so. And we'll continue to build on the existing platforms, and we do think over the medium to long term, we'll have a very interesting play to be had.
So will Zudio continue to be the growth driver for you, or will it be Westside, Zudio and Starquick? Like, what do you see as the growth driver for Trend?
We do think all these three are growth engines, and Zudio is definitely one of them. So the emerging categories, which include innerwear, beauty and footwear, now accounts for about 20% of the lifestyle propositions that we have.
Well, from one retailer to another, Arvind Fashions is planning to manufacture sneakers. The company's vice chairman, Kulin Lanbai, is upbeat on footwear as a segment to achieve high growth. Take a look.
We believe that this whole area of casual sneakers is an area we find very exciting. So in Arvind Fashions, we are now almost selling 2.5 million sneakers across our brands, and we're also planning to get into footwear manufacturing of sneakers because it's similar to garment manufacturing, which is our skill set. So we believe that an end-to-end exciting opportunity exists in the footwear sector.
And furniture giant IKEA believes that India can become $1 billion market for the Swedish furnish maker, even as its losses have widened. Speaking to my colleague Shivani Bazar's IKEA India CEO Suzanne Palvera said that IKEA has already invested 10,500 crore rupees and will commit more. The company is making its entry into the Delhi NCR region with an online-first approach backed by a new supply chain hub to meet growing demand. From the 1st of March, customers in Delhi and 9 nearby cities will be able to order IKEA products from their app or website. Take a look.
We are very excited to finally be here. Of course, something we have been looking forward to for a long time, and so does many people in Delhi and the surrounding cities. So we have taken our time to learn from the first phase of expanding in 3 markets, in Hyderabad, in Mumbai and in Bangalore, and setting up for a good launch in Delhi. And now we are ready and we are here. And what we have learned is it's good to go with online first. Yeah. We have set up the backbone with the whole of supply. We have inaugurated a CDC with a partner in south of Gurugram. And all of that is now set together with the delivery and the service partners. And then, of course, we will complement with physical presence in the region. Online is an increasingly important, but it doesn't take away the need for experiencing, getting inspiration in an IKEA store, touch and feel. It doesn't take away the need of digital solutions and capabilities like planning systems and like creative tool, an app where you can plan your home, services connected to that. All that needs to play together to make the customer experience at its best. So I see it's not going to take over, but it's an increasingly important part, but the other part we believe strongly will play an important part in the future. We committed to 10,500 crores, and that is booked and consumed in the investments we have done, including the two major projects we have in Noida and in Gurugram. Since then, we have gone into depth in looking at India, the opportunities, the market as such, the growth, the economic outlook, and together in the whole of IKEA and the whole value chain, we have agreed that India is a growth market and a priority market for IKEA. When we came to India, we made a commitment to do 30% local sourcing together with the government, and that is what we deliver to today. Together in the IKEA value chain with the IKEA organization working with sourcing, we now look into the opportunities. We support the government's initiative to make in India. We see a big opportunity to build up this category further in the country.
IKEA's India chief. State-run UCO Bank has deferred its foreign roadshows for its proposed 2,000 crore rupee fundraise. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 that roadshows, which were scheduled for earlier this week, will now be held in March. Ritu standing by with more. Ritu.
Well, thank you for that. We've been given to understand from our sources that state-run UCO Bank has deferred its foreign roadshows for the proposed 2,000 crore rupee QIP that the bank is looking to raise. This roadshow was scheduled to take place on the 24th and 25th of February across Hong Kong and Singapore, but has now been deferred. Now, our sources within the bank indicate that the bank will now attempt to hold these roadshows in the second week of March or later. Keep in mind that the bank had planned this 2,000 crore rupee QIP, which was recently approved by the Government of India to comply with SEBI's minimum public shareholding norms. As of December end, the Government of India held about 95.39% stake in UCO Bank, and after this 2,000 crore rupee QIP, the government stake was expected to fall by 3%. UCO Bank's capital adequacy ratio stood at about 16.25% and its Tier 1 capital at 14.17% as of the end of the third quarter. Now, the management had guided that they won't close this QIP in the current financial year, which means in this quarter itself, but with the deferment of the IPO, it remains unclear whether or not UCO will be able to conclude this QIP in the month of March itself.
Ritu, many thanks. US President Donald Trump's $5 million golden visa offering a path to US citizenship is the most expensive in the world. About 10,000 Indian millionaires migrated abroad last year, with UAE being the top destination, offering citizenship for about $500,000. Parikshit is standing by with more on Trump's plan and how it compares with the rest of the world. Parikshit.
US President Donald Trump has announced that the new $5 million golden visa program will offer a path to citizenship, just like the EB-5. This will also provide you a green card and permanent legal residency. But the golden visa program would replace the 35-year-old EB-5 immigrant investor visa program and also raise the minimum investment requirement as under EB-5 from $1 million to $5 million. So this is a huge increase and would make this the most expensive golden visa in the world. US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said this is being done to do away with visa fraud and other nonsense related to EB-5. The White House also said this would not require congressional approval. Trump said US could actually sell 10 million golden visas to reduce the trade deficit the country has. Close to 135,000 EB-5 visas have been issued in the last 24 years alone. 14,169 of them were issued in 2024, which is the highest since 2017. Among the biggest beneficiaries of the EB-5 program over the last 10 years are first China, which had 34,700 EB-5 visas issued, followed by Vietnam at 6,300 and India at 3,800 over the last 9 to 10 years. Now, here's how other golden visa nations stack up. Close to 100 nations around the world offer golden visas. UAE's golden visa is the most preferred one and costs around 544,000 US dollars, followed by Portugal at 523,000 US dollars. UK would cost you a whopping $2.5 million. Greece would be around 262,800 US dollars, and Italy would be around 261,000 US dollars. Close to 10,000 Indian millionaires have migrated abroad in 2 years, according to different reports. 16 lakh Indians have surrendered their citizenship since 2011 and settled in 135 nations, according to a parliamentary reply.
All right, so let's see if the golden card succeeds in ratcheting up numbers. Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. President Trump asked if anyone was unhappy with Elon Musk in the first cabinet meeting of his second term. Trump also lauded Musk's efforts to shrink the government. Remember, the tech billionaire is not officially a member of the cabinet and his appointment was not vetted or cleared by the U.S. Congress.
Hey, Elon, let the cabinet speak just for a second. Is anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, well, throw him out of here. Is anybody unhappy? They have a lot of respect for Elon and that he's doing this, and some disagree a little bit, but I will tell you, for the most part, I think everyone's not only happy, they're thrilled.
President Trump has in fact threatened to impose 25% reciprocal tariff on European cars and other goods. During his first cabinet meeting, Trump claimed that the EU was formed to take advantage of the US. Trump also said that new tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada will come into effect from the 2nd of April. However, the White House contradicted him by saying that the March 4th deadline for these tariffs will still remain in effect.
We have made a decision. We'll be announcing it very soon, and it'll be 25%. Generally speaking, and that'll be on cars and all other things. And European Union is a different case than Canada, different kind of case. They've really taken advantage of us in a different way.
More Trump tariff talk. Up next, the Supreme Court pulls up the customs and GST officials for misusing arrest powers, calls for errant officers to be punished. That and more when we return. The Supreme Court has pulled up customs and GST officials for misusing arrest powers. The apex court called for errant officers to be punished and ruled that customs officers do not enjoy the same powers as police officers. Ashmit is standing by with more details. Ashmit, give us a background to this case and the implications of what the court has said.
Well, let's bear in mind that there were a batch of applications adding up to over 279, which had raised multiple questions with respect to powers available to customs and GST officials. One of the concerns that had been raised is that the arrest power of these customs and GST officials is being misused by them to coerce the companies into paying the amounts in question, and this is something that was brought to the attention of the court. The court, by way of today's judgment, very clearly holds that there is some merit in the argument that has been given, that there is a potential abuse of this arrest provision for coercing money out of these companies, saying that this is not something that is conscionable, not something that the court will allow, is not something that is consistent with the Indian law. Going on to say that as far as the errant officers are concerned, there needs to be some accountability in terms of departmental inquiries, and with respect to the companies, they will always have the remedy, the liberty of moving the court for seeking some relief. But the court didn't stop there. It went a step further and said that the customs officials cannot be deemed to be police officers and therefore they do not have the same power. The Supreme Court also saying that the remedies, the reliefs, the protections that are granted, the safeguards that are granted for an accused under the CRPC, which is now the BNSS, will also be available to parties facing prosecution under the GST and Customs Act. And finally, on the issue of anticipatory bail, here again the Supreme Court said, even in cases where an FIR has not been registered, parties in question can seek an anticipatory bail. So a number of reliefs. We're, of course, awaiting the final copy of the order.
All right, Ashmit, many thanks for joining us. We told you first, it's now official. The Union Cabinet has approved an agreement between India and Israel for collaboration in exploring and processing critical minerals. The partnership involves the use of AI and machine learning for exploration. India will also appoint nodal officers in overseas missions in countries with large mineral reserves. Minister for Coal and Mines, G. Kishan Reddy, said India is looking for opportunities to mine for cobalt, copper and lithium in 15 to 20 countries.
हम सऊदी से चर्चा कर रहे हैं, अर्जेंटीना से चर्चा कर रहे हैं और टेक्नोलॉजी के लिए इजराइल से भी चर्चा कर रहे हैं और टेक्नोलॉजी के अमेरिका के साथ भी चर्चा कर रहे हैं, अलग अलग देशों से भी MOU कर रहे हैं। एक एक्शन प्लान तो है, एक्शन प्लान के अंदर ही हमारा 25 क्रिटिकल मिनरल्स जो इंपोर्ट करते हैं उसके लिए फ्री ड्यूटी फ्री किया है।
Harsh Goenka, chairperson of the RPG Group, has echoed Uday Kotak's stance on fading animal spirits among heirs of wealthy business owners in India. Goenka said, and I quote, "Modern science believe in passive income, active vacations and aggressive networking at yacht parties. Who needs the stress of managing employees and production lines when you can just manage a diversified stock portfolio?" Top economist and former government advisor Sanjeev Sanyal also weighed in. He said, "I'm glad that the business elite has woken up to the real danger that their heirs are becoming too soft. Instead of leveraging their wealth to take bigger risks, they create family offices," end of quote. But not everyone agrees. We spoke with Devina Mehra of First Global and Deepak Shenoy of Capital Mind, who believe this is neither a new or an India-specific phenomena, nor one to be worried about. As Shenoy put it, Goldman and Sachs do not run Goldman Sachs, so why should Indian family businesses be any different?
Our youth now love luxury. They have bad manners, contempt for authority, show disrespect for their elders, love chatter in place of exercise. They contradict their parents, gobble up their food, and tyrannize their teachers. Guess when this quote is from.
Sound like my kids.
This is from 79 AD, graffiti on the walls of Pompeii. Oh. And the actual quote goes back even further to Greek plays.
Right.
So this is what every generation thinks of the next generation, that the next generation is going down the drain, not working hard enough.
Children of those who have become rich are now investing in those companies and calling them startup investing or whatever it is, and then also spending the money, which is both, I think, are great things, because if you don't have the hunger, at least you give the money to the person who has the hunger. And secondly, you spend so that it increases the incomes of all the people who provide you the services that or products that allow you to spend. So I think both things are useful.
Well, splitting heirs quite literally. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue. Stay right there. You're back in a minute on CNBC-TV18.